After spending a good while with both the Pro controllers that Nintendo had made in the last little while, I'll admit both of them are pretty solid controllers. Of course, I think the Switch Pro controller is actually a massive upgrade compared to the Wii U Pro controller, but ever since that I've actually tried it out a lot, I think the Wii U Pro obviously lacked a lot of major features that even the other controllers have, even at the time. The Wii U Pro to me at least still has a good advantages compared to the other controllers despite lacking the features, but honestly it still lacks a lot in my opinion. But honestly, let's get into why I love both of these controllers. And first off, I think we should actually start off with the Wii U Pro controller. To me, it's actually one of my personal favorites. This one has to be one of the most comfortable controllers out there, and I think that at least Nintendo got that one right. Another big advantage I think this controller has is the analog sticks. They feel really smooth. And even after 3 to 4 years of almost constant use, I think that these ones actually never really worn out and they still feel really nice to use. And the D-pad is actually in a similar camp. This one feels really responsive and durable and just really comfortable to use. A thing I really did like about the Wii U Pro is the layout. And I will admit it actually does look weird at first since it's basically a DualShock 4 but like reversed. But honestly, I got used to it pretty fast, and I just think that it just makes a lot of sense to me since I feel better when I want to use my thumb to press the face buttons. I just move it down and without. I just feel like it better with all the analog sticks all in that same plane without having to be one's on the top then one's on the bottom, stuff like that. Also, the bumpers on the Wii U Pro I feel also are really nice and super clicky and super responsive. Another thing that actually really amazes me about this controller is the battery life. It's like 80 hours on one charge, which is the highest amount on a controller that I've seen so far, which is actually really good since you only have to charge it once and you never have to worry about it for maybe the next couple of days depending on how much you use it. But I think the battery actually came at a cost, at least back in the day, since this controller, again, as I mentioned before, was lacking some pretty big features like gyro, NFC, HD rumble, and a headphone jack. And then there's the triggers, and for me it's a lot worse in comparison to every other controller out there, including the Switch Pro. It feels like it should go a lot more into how the 360 controller works, but it doesn't, and it just stops and it just doesn't feel right. The face buttons A, B, X, and Y are a bit small, but I did get used to eventually, just a weird contrast in consideration to everything else. And then the controller weighs almost nothing in the hands, which is good because you don't really want a bit really bulky controller, but again, I wish it was a bit heavier. And the weird thing is that this is one of the only modern controllers that actually don't work outside of the box on PC. Every controller, even the Switch Pro controller, has gotten updates to work on Steam, and you can actually get this to work on emulators too. The Wii U Pro actually has to use a third-party software, which does work great, but it kind of sucks that you can't really just get it to work outside of the box on PC right away. Now let's move on to the Switch Pro controller, and it improves almost everything from the Wii U Pro. For example, it actually has all the features that the Wii U Pro lacked, the NFC, the gyro, HD rumble, and just all that stuff. And it also does work out of the box on PC, which is great, as that I mentioned in my last point. And even with all the features added, it works great on the Switch itself. PC, I actually haven't gotten gyro to work, but it's not really a big deal since I don't really play a lot of shooters. But again, on the Switch, all of these features work great, so you're getting a really quality controller. The sticks also feel really nice, and even after a few months of constant use, even on games like Smash, and on PC, I use it for a lot of games for example Okami and some Final Fantasies, but stuff like that, and it still works really nice. And the controller also really lasts really long, about 40 to 60 hours on one charge, which is still one of the highest, longest controllers in terms of battery life, and I'm surprised that other companies haven't done this, but good on Nintendo for doing that. But what does this controller mess up? I think that, again, Nintendo really did mess up on the triggers, and it just feels too fat and it just doesn't go all the way. It feels like it should, but it doesn't. The D-pad also really sucks, and it's odd because Nintendo has made really good D-pads in the past. What I mean by this is that if you push down one side, you really can't do a diagonal movement because it just doesn't really work like that, because I think all the D-pads count as a singular button press, which sucks. It really sucks for 2D games. For example, I think I was trying to play Street Fighter 2 at one point with it, and just does not really work all that well with it. And just I wish it was better. Like I've heard like the Xenoblade controller for Switch actually fixes that problem, but I have the like normal gray Switch controller, and it just sucks that I can't really use the D-pad properly. And I would get that controller eventually, but it costs a lot because I don't really think Nintendo's selling it all that much anymore. I haven't checked the prices, but I would assume that since it was a limited controller, but it just sucks that the base Switch controller does not really do that.